You're listening to the Valley Labor Report with David Story and Jacob Morrison.
So we got Anna and Megan on the Zoom, correct? Can y'all hear us okay? Just to check in. Have you got?
Yes, hello.
Awesome.
All right. So, Anna, Megan, first of all, we appreciate you being here this morning. And we wanted to just give you a chance first to tell us who you are and tell us a little bit about the appeal.
Meg, you want to kick it off?
Sure. And it's just Meg, by the way, not Megan.
Okay.
And so I'm a reporter, or I used to be a reporter for the appeal. We're kind of in a limbo state right now after everything that's happened. Anna, do you want to go?
Sure. I'm Anna Simonton. I was a senior editor for The Appeal, which is a digital news outlet focused historically mostly on the criminal legal system. We've covered a lot of the injustices within that system, as well as the activism and organizing to change the way that we deal with the harms that people do and try to move away from mass incarceration and toward some other way of addressing things. Right now I'm working with the transition team to relaunch The Appeal into a worker-led news outlet, as y'all mentioned. Also, shout out to everyone in Alabama. I'm really happy to be here. My mom's from Dallas County. Thank you for having us.
That's awesome. Yeah, I know Dallas County very well. Selma, the seat of Dallas County, of course. And tell us a little bit. You mentioned the transition team and the plans to relaunch as worker-owned media. What led to that point?
So the Appeal had been around for about 3 or maybe 4 years, working in the criminal justice space, doing reporting in that area. And for a while, there had been issues with the way the organization was managed, which the workers had brought up over and over and over again, and just it never got addressed. And so we began to feel, as people left the organization and were pushed out or things like that, that our only option was to band together collectively to make ourselves heard and try to get the concerns we had raised addressed. So on May 10th, we did that, and it was kind of crazy because at the exact same time that we went public, like 5 minutes later, we got an email from management saying that there would be layoffs and that leadership was stepping away. And it was just like the timing was crazy. And because we had just publicly announced at that time, on Twitter with press releases, a website and all that, there was a lot of attention on us in that moment and on our union. And so we publicized what was going on with the layoffs, and we ended up, we put out a request for people to send emails through Action Network to management, and we ended up getting 400 or more emails sent to management telling them to pause the layoffs. We asked management to pause the layoffs and rescind the one that had actually happened. And we ended up to recognize our union, and then the next day they said that they would voluntarily recognize our union. They rescinded the one layoff. They paused the other 8 or 10 that they had planned, and it felt like a huge victory, and it was. But then a few weeks later, they said that they were planning on shutting the organization down, and so at that point, we were already in negotiations with management, and our union tried to avoid a situation where the Appeal was shut down. Ultimately, they decided that they weren't going to budge on closing the organization, but we, through our union, secured a lot of wins. We were able to secure a really generous severance package for all of our coworkers. that covers, like, secures them financially and provides them with health care. And in addition to that, we're still in negotiations right now to try to get, like, the rights to the website and things like that, so we can establish a new organization, a worker-led organization, and continue on with the same mission that we had before.
It's interesting because when news broke, when y'all initially led with the we organize a union and we're asking for management recognition, and then minutes later the hammer dropped on the layoffs and things. I kind of started going back and reading some about the appeal and the history. I mean, us being from Alabama, unfortunately, we didn't know a whole lot other than what we seen initially on Twitter. I still don't know a whole lot, unfortunately. But it almost looks, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it almost looks like that was their goal. And I'm not trying to squash the concept that they were retaliating against workers, because there may be leverage there, but it almost looked to me like that was their goal, was to shutter the doors initially, prior to anything else, with this diversion, or the separation from this Tide. I can't remember the exact name, the Tide Advocacy Group or something like that, which seems like the appeal, that was the appeal's main funding there. Is that assumption correct, or do y'all know less than what we know?
No, I think there's pieces of that definitely are part of our understanding. So Tides, that you mentioned, Tides Advocacy is the fiscal sponsor. So they're a 501c3, right. And the appeal, they sponsored a group called the Justice Collaborative that had been doing criminal justice reform advocacy work. The appeal started as a project under the Justice Collaborative and was editorially independent. So there's several layers of kind of nonprofits involved here. But we had been through a number of restructurings over the past year, including a merger of the Justice Collaborative and the Appeal. So what were once two separate sides of an organization, one really focusing on trying to pass legislation and things like that. And then this, as journalists, like, that's not what we do. We write about that stuff. We're kind of all thrown together. Ultimately that was a powerful thing, because we got to know colleagues that we were siloed from before, and we built trust and we built power together. But in terms of the day-to-day, like, operations of the organization, it was very confusing who was supposed to be doing what. Yeah. And that was one of the things that led to our union campaign, was just the constantly moving target of job reassignments and constantly shifting coverage priorities. We're being told to do one thing, and it's like urgent, and we have to drop everything and do it one day, and then the next day drop everything and do something totally different.
We're coming up on a break. On the other side, we'd love to hear more about the staff union you guys organized and the mission that you have going forward. This is the Valley Labor Report. Please stay tuned. Looking forward to it.
You're listening to the Valley Labor Report with David Story and Jacob Morrison.
Good morning, folks. This is the Valley Labor Report, and we are talking with Meg and Anna from the Appeal. On the other side of that break, they gave us a little bit of background about themselves and what was the Appeal, what is the Appeal moving forward. And when we left off, they were sharing a little bit about some of the troubles they were having as a staff and their decision to unionize, present their concerns to management. So before we pick back up with that, could y'all remind us what union did you guys affiliate with?
We went with News Guild. They've been supportive of a number of media unions at the New Yorker and Jacobin, and so they've been amazing.
That's Mary Beth, I think, and who's the other one? I can't remember her name.
Yeah, we actually had some News Guild information on, I believe, the last episode. We've been covering quite a bit in terms of
News
organizing.
Guild's been knocking it out of the park.
Yeah, News Guild's having a hell of a record in terms of winning elections, and we've seen a big trend in organizing among media and nonprofits. So you guys are kind of a little bit of both in that respect. So definitely respect what y'all have accomplished in that part. So we left off talking about the issues, and David mentioned some of the background as well about kind of the appeal and the funding and the desire to ultimately shut down the program.
Yeah, well, it sounded like the desire to shut down the program come out of an absolute mismanagement of the program, because from what I read, there was it was an ungodly number of layoffs, and I don't know if it was a tremendous turnover. Like, I want to say it was like 41 people in just a matter of a couple of months. Is that correct?
I think it was 38 or close to 40 in over, I think it was about a year. Was that right?
Which is still insane for the amount of active employees.
Right. Like the number of employees has always been, I want to say, between 50 and 70. Like, it's, fluctuated some over the years, but like we were 50 some people for most of that year when there was that level of turnover. So it's huge.
Yeah. So, I mean, that kind of speaks to management's role in the insanity that it sounds like was going on there. And as is the case in many industries, management rarely knows how to operate a business. They rely on the workers, and good thing y'all stepped up.
Yeah, I think that's amazing what y'all have been able to do in terms of preserving livelihoods for your members. And that makes all the difference when you have a union that can go to bat for you when there is mismanagement, when there is a closing business. That's people's livelihoods, their income, their health care, and having a union that can organize around those needs and defend those members is so critical. So I want y'all to just pick back up in terms of you presented your concerns to management. Management is saying, well, actually, we're going to just shut the whole thing down. And so now, as part of your transition team, what have you guys what have y'all been working on in terms of this vision of a worker-owned media?
Yeah, we are aiming to relaunch the appeal, and we've reached a preliminary agreement that ties the fiscal sponsor, who actually owns the rights to the website and other intellectual property. We'll transfer that and other non-financial assets once we've created a new legal entity. So we'll technically be a separate organization, but the vision is to build off of the work of the appeal and to continue publishing on the appeal website, and to really get back to our roots in terms of reporting on criminal justice issues, and to do so with a sharpened focus on racial justice and the communities that are affected the most by the criminal legal system.
Interesting. So are y'all organizing now as a cooperative that, will be democratically functioning?
So we're going to stay a nonprofit, and so we can't be a cooperative in terms of the actual legal entity and in terms of as like an economic structure. So we won't have cooperative ownership, but we are looking at models of what's called a worker self-directed nonprofit. And so there will be a democratic internal structure in terms of how decisions are made, and how the work is done.
And I assume that's because of just because of the legal ramifications with wanting to stay with a nonprofit 501c and not being able to do the cooperative. That's interesting. But it's still going to be worker led. And I guess that begs the question is, where does the union kind of fall now? Because what role are they playing in the entire thing?
Meg, did you want to take that?
Sorry for throwing the hard questions. I'm very interested in this. I broke away from the radio station about a month ago with the intent of starting a worker cooperative here, and so this is kind of a personal, a challenge for me as well.
Yeah. Yeah, and we definitely want to stay unionized. It's kind of, like you said, it's weird because we unionize the past organization that has since shut down, but we're doing a lot of the work that we're doing. Like, obviously, we could not be here right now without the victories that our union secured. We are all working without pay to do this. And if we didn't have the financial security that we had secured through our union, if we weren't in a position to negotiate with tithes to get the intellectual property through the winds of our union, we wouldn't be able to do all this. So and we're kind of like self-organized in much the same way that we are organizing campaign to get the union in the first place was. We're working in a series of committees with people working on messaging, people working on securing funders, people working on all the legal needs that are required to establish an entity. So we're already operating like a collective, and we want to continue to be unionized going forward. We're still in touch with the amazing person from News Guild who is working with us, Michael Applegate. Shout out to Michael Applegate. She's the best. And that's just something we have to figure out as we continue. The intent is certainly there, but it's all confusing because we're not a thing right now.
Yeah, you don't have a management to negotiate with, I don't guess. What the last question before I let Adam jump in, because I see he's about chomping at the bit. What about Rob Smith? Because every article that I've read, I want to hate this guy, and I'm just hoping that somehow he's out of the picture now.
So I mentioned that we're still in the process of securing the intellectual property and the assets that we need. So
it may be a month or two before you can tell us how you really feel. Is that what you're trying to say?
I'll just say we really want to focus on moving forward and all of that. But no, Rob, what we do know is that he's on to the next thing. We don't know what his next project is, but he's already working on some kind of new venture.
Yeah, so we don't really care what his new project is.
Except for those people who may be working for him, in which case, please call us.
Yeah, we'll help you out.
We're coming up on a hard break here, so after the break, I definitely want to hear from y'all in terms of how we can help, how our listeners can help, how your readers can help. But I think what you're doing is so fascinating, and it's so necessary, and I think it could be paving a new way for unions moving forward and other enterprises where businesses are closing, and it's time for the workers to take over. So, y'all, we are coming up on our 10 o'clock hard break. Please stay tuned. After the break, we're going to find out what we can do to support the appeal to provide great coverage of criminal injustice in this country.
Put it there, boy, and we'll show these fascists what a couple of hillbillies can do.
All right, welcome back to the Valley Labor Report. We're glad you're listening this morning, wherever you're listening, whether it's on FM, YouTube, Facebook, however you're hearing us, we appreciate you and your support. We are talking with two amazing journalists from The Appeal and two amazing union sisters who are fighting to have worker-led media. And there's a couple of things that's really interesting to me about that. First of all, there is a lack of real media in this country, and it's something we experience quite a bit here in North Alabama. There's just so little coverage of real issues that matter. Investigative journalism has been decimated. And we talked about that when we had the News Guild on here.
Labor journalism has been every form of journalism that actually reports on the happenings of people. If it's not political,
right. I mean, you can find articles every time Joe Biden or Donald Trump sneezes or goes to the bathroom, but anything that actually affects everyday working class people, good luck finding it. If it's about corruption at the local and state level, good luck finding that.
Yeah.
And that is by design. We've talked, when we had our News Guild discussion, we talked quite a bit about corporate hedge fund takeovers of media and the consolidation of media by corporate entities. And, that's something that has really impacted, I think, all of us who care and want to make a difference. If you're an activist or an organizer or just a regular old citizen who gives a crap about your community, it's hard to address issues that you don't know about.
Yeah, it's contributed to the dumbing down of the American population,
right,
for a reason.
And the corporate media that is out there, especially cable news and some of the reactionary garbage you hear on radio stations such as this one. Sorry, Jacob. It's toxic. It's toxic. And I consider it a form of psychological pollution, quite frankly.
Yeah.
So there's the media aspect to this, but there's also the idea of workers taking over industries as they change, collapse, go out of business, however you want to phrase it. And I remember something coming out in the Labor Party's manifesto a few years back when Jeremy Corbyn was leader of the Labor Party. I remember they actually had an idea that when businesses or a factory were to go out of business, the workers themselves, through their union, would have the right of first refusal.
Yeah.
And before, just letting a factory shutter, they could actually allow the workers to have a plan in place to make it a cooperatively owned business so that it could be up and running, regardless of what some hedge fund wants. If there's a need for the industry, if the workers see the need for the industry and they're willing to continue working, why not make that happen? It's a great way to have an actual rising tide lift all boats, not the trickle down theory that we've been exposed to for the last 40, 50 years of neoliberal hell. So with that rant over, I want to turn it back to our sisters from the appeal. And if it's okay with y'all, could y'all share a little bit about how you're going to pull this off and, what kind of help you need from the community to do that?
Yeah, so thankfully, we have a bunch of really, really smart, talented people who are dedicated enough to volunteer their time. We have about 20 people working on the transition effort, and we have had a real outpouring of support so far, and just hope that continues. When we a little over a week ago announced all this and what's been happening behind the scenes, we had an outpouring of support on social media. We were able to raise close to $30,000 from that, and we also got in touch with some legal counsel to help us out with that, with all the needs of establishing a new organization. So we're getting there, and it's only been 5 or so weeks that we've known, we're all losing our jobs and we can work together to save this, hopefully. But we do need, when I personally was floored to see that we raised almost $30,000, and I was really touched to see that people cared enough about what we were doing that they would be willing to donate their money like that. And then I also realized $30,000 is not even one person's salary, and we really have our work cut out for us, and there's a lot more we need to do. And Anna is spearheading some of the leadership efforts and the donor committee, and I think she can talk about more what exactly we need to do to survive.
Yeah, $30,000 when you're talking about nonprofit council don't buy much. So yeah, and I would assume that, I mean, as great work as the News Guild has been doing, they haven't been in existence for so long, for very long. So they're not, the financial juggernaut that you see with a UAW or somebody like that. So I would assume financial support needs to be ongoing.
Yeah, and thanks to our partnership with Scalawag, an amazing outlet for Southern journalism and storytelling, we've been able to raise those small dollar donations like Meg mentioned. And I think that gets back to what y'all were saying about the media industry. This is like such a different show of solidarity, the way that Scalawag stepped up, because historically this has been an industry that runs on competition. Right. And this is one independent outlet to another, providing some of the infrastructure that we didn't have, because we don't have the right to, the website and things like that where we could fundraise off of. Now we have a pop-up on the website. So if you go to theappeal.org, there is a way to get to that donation page. And yeah, we're going to be seeking out, major donor support. But we want to diversify that revenue so that we're not as reliant as we have been on grant funding, and try to turn the support that we've seen from, people donating $5, $10, and $20 into possibly a membership program focused on recurring donations, and one where, the people that are finding value in the work that we're doing are in turn shaping that work, and that we're, responsive to the needs of our readers.
I think that's really great stuff. And it's, like I said earlier, I think y'all are pioneering, some new tactics and some new paths forward for not just for media, but for other industries and other unions. And I think that's why we wanted y'all on the show, honestly, because it's cool. It's cool what y'all are doing. It's different. The journalism that y'all do is incredibly important, because we have such a broken criminal justice system in this country that disproportionately affects working class people. It is a working class issue. The working class is much more diverse than our capitalist elites, and unfortunately it's our black and brown brothers and sisters who are targeted first and foremost by this system. So the work that you're doing journalistically is important, and this work that you're doing to create this new model is going to be something for all of us to keep our eyes on. And I hope that by being on today's show that maybe there's a few of us who have learned a little bit about what y'all are doing and can chip in and support the cause as well. And I love what Scalawag is doing. I like
Scalawag, some friends on the show here. Yeah,
they do great work. And like you said, it is sort of a competitive industry in media. Everyone's competing for clicks and shares and advertising. So the fact that they teamed up with y'all, I think, is a great demonstration of solidarity.
And it gives me an opportunity to throw a jab at my brother Chris Brooks, because I talked with Chris Brooks about 2 months ago, maybe 3 months ago. We were on a show together in New York City. And then before the show, I asked him, why are we not pushing towards cooperative, collective media outlets? And he kind of poo-pooed the idea. So whenever I seen y'all's announcement that you were working towards a worker-owned media outlet, I made sure to tag him in it. So if you're listening, Chris, ha, 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 I got the last laugh. But if you are interested in supporting The Appeal, I just went to their website, theappeal.org. I mean, it's immediate a pop-up to the work continues, support a worker-led effort to relaunch The Appeal and donate to help continue our vital work. And some of that vital work is something that we cover regularly here, especially with the police violence that goes on across the nation, and especially in minority communities or communities that may be less prosperous than ours. So they are doing that work and keeping a spotlight on it, and I think it's important to keep a spotlight on it, because it ain't going away. As much reform as, I don't know if I even call it reform, I hadn't seen much reform, but as much reform as a lot of the Democrats claim that they're trying to push, we're not seeing it. So we definitely need to support them in keeping a spotlight on it.
Absolutely. Do y'all have any final messages for us, or maybe a glimpse into the future of the appeal?
Just thank you so much for having us on and for noticing what we're doing and caring about it. And we're really excited for what the future holds for all of us. I'm so impressed by my colleagues every day. Like, I can't believe this is the talent this organization had managed to pull together and then ignored before. And we have some really great reporters, great editors, fact checkers, all working with us. And I'm just so excited to, like, one of the reasons we organized was because we all came to the appeal because we care so much about its mission to highlight what is going wrong with the criminal justice system, and that things simply aren't working, and that this is literally upending people's lives and causing so much harm.
All workers deserve fair wages, affordable health care, and a retirement plan that enables them to retire with dignity. All workers deserve to have a say about the terms and conditions of their employment, not just the bosses. With the machinist unions over 600,000 members having our back, Local Lodge 44 in Decatur, Alabama has been serving workers' interests for over 20 years. Our members have the best health insurance in the area with zero deductible plans. We set the bar for pay in the area with over $40 an hour rates, consistently averaging the highest non-college degree jobs in North Alabama with some of the best retirement plans in the industry. We can do the same for you. Together, we remain united, raising our voices to ensure justice on the job and service in the community. The Machinist Union is a true Southern union founded in Atlanta in 1888. We have been serving members' needs for 132 years. The longevity of our union proves our dedication and loyalty to the working class. The Machinist Union isn't just for machinists. We represent workers in government, healthcare, auto workers, aerospace workers, transportation workers, the defense industry, and woodworking. Our members even build the iconic Harley-Davidson motorcycles. If you're ready to get serious about better benefits and wages, if you want to have a voice in your workplace with over 600,000 members to back you up, call or email us today at 256-286-3704 or organize at iamaw44.org.
If you want to see what we are up to throughout the week, get our snide quips about the news of the day, then follow us on social media, facebook.com/The Valley Labor Report, Twitter at Labor Reporters. You can find Jacob at JacobMAL. If you missed part of the show and you want to go back and watch it later, search YouTube for The Valley Labor Report. Make sure you subscribe to our channel. You can go back and watch the full show there. And we also clip segments throughout the week. We upload the program on more than 11 different podcasting apps, so check your platform of choice and see if we're on there. You can check out the valleylaborreport.transistor.fm/subscribe. We have a website where you can buy our hats and stickers at thevalleylaborreport.org. If you appreciate our work and want to keep us on the air, consider throwing us a couple bucks a month on patreon.com/The Valley Labor Report. And finally, I want to remind our listeners that Labor Notes and the Teamsters for Democratic Union office was subjected to a major flood recently, and they had quite a bit of damage in the office, lost a lot of books, a lot of materials. So if you are so inclined, we'd love for you to contribute to that cause. Go check out Labor Notes on social media to find out how to donate.